Hey everyone, quick question for you. Have you ever been in a place in your life, and I'm sure most of you have, where you feel, for whatever reason, distracted from your faith or from your ministry, if you're involved in ministry? I just finished coming through a time period in my life where kind of this valley time. I was distracted. I had a hard time concentrating. I had a hard time focusing in on ministry and focusing in on people that I care about. My wife says that it's a time where I go into my cave and people need to leave me alone so that I have time to process and think and wrestle. I remember watching this movie called Luther, and it's the story of Martin Luther, and there's this time in this story where he's wrestling with the devil, is the expression, and he's just battering himself around this room, and he's yelling, and he's like, leave me alone kind of concept, and you just felt like he was in a dark place. You ever feel like that? Sometimes you're just kind of in a dark place and not sure what to do with it, where to go with it. I've been wrestling with that, and a passage of scripture that came to mind for me was, and some of you probably are very well aware of this passage of scripture, but it says, always be ready to give reason for the hope that you have. I've thought about that, and as I'm going through this dark place, always be ready to give reason for the hope that I have. I didn't feel very hopeful when I was in this dark place. I really felt alone and withdrawn, and I couldn't express why, and I'm not even sure I understood that was what was happening. But what I do know is that when I started looking at this idea of hope, there was an encouragement. Yeah, I'm in this valley, but I don't travel through the valley alone. David says, though I travel through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. It doesn't say that we won't go through a valley. It doesn't say that the valleys in life won't happen. You see, because the second part of that verse says, for I know that you are with me. And so there's this idea that even though we're going through this valley where there's this darkness and we feel disconnected and withdrawn from God and from people and distracted from the things that we're to do in everyday life, God's there. And if we really believe that God is the ever-present God, that He's omnipresent, present everywhere, then He's got to be in the valley with us. And wherever God is, well, then there's opportunity for hope, right? There's opportunity for joy. There's opportunity for peace. And it was when I became aware and reminded myself of that the hope that I have is placed in a God who's always there, no matter what I'm going through. I found some encouragement with that, and it's not that I wasn't going through this valley, it's not that I wasn't distracted, but what it meant was that I knew that I didn't travel alone. And I knew that for whatever reason, I needed this time. It was almost like a pruning thing. There were some things in my life I needed to deal with, I needed to get rid of. And, wow, I gotta tell you, I kind of feel refreshed. And you would think that if you're going through that struggle that you would feel exhausted and that sort of thing. And for a time I did. But I'm feeling refreshed now. How do you deal with it? Do you feel refreshed when you come through this valley? Or are you stuck in a valley right now and have forgotten that God is ever present, that He's there with you and He's traveling with you? Do you feel like you're in the valley of the shadow of death, but feeling alone? And if you do, then my encouragement to you is this. Don't forget the second half of the passage. You don't travel alone. He walks with you. You see, because He's not subject to our feelings. He doesn't depend on them. He's there. I guess really, it's just a matter of us opening our eyes and recognizing that and using that faith to really believe that He is there. And to talk to other people. Talk to other people who might be going through a valley themselves, or talk to other people who just came through a valley, so that you have encouragement, so that people can pray for you. And this is the idea of carrying each other's burdens. So right now, I have a wonderful grouping of people around me that I've been able to have this encouragement from. And they may not even realize that they were encouraging me, but my wife alone, just an incredible encouragement to me, sent me an email of a devotional that she just had read, and it meant a lot to her. And And it did a lot for me. It was an encouraging thing. So when you're going through this valley, find people to encourage you. Don't become a leech, but find people to encourage you. And more than anything else, remember that God is with you. That's a big one.